The hunt for botting players is about justice. Because justice doesn't sleep. Justice never relents. And even if you try to work a way around the system, justice will be there. And justice is on 12-hour cooldown.
Hello pilots, and welcome back to another Eve Echoes video. Today I was going to take out my Adrestia again and look for some solo hunting to try and take on some battleships with a new fit. However, I unfortunately did not find anybody to tackle. I found one ship that was AFK, one that didn't want to engage me on a gate, and a whole lot of scripting botting players. Now, the specific issue that I'm trying to deal with is the fact that every time you enter local in a system, there's an automatic update of that system list showing you as a neutral or a hostile to anybody in that system. And what's happening is I believe that these ships are being programmed to automatically quickly warp back to a base like a POS or a citadel in order to avoid being tackled. Now, I totally understand that it takes time between when you enter a system, when your ship finally loads in, you scan, you complete the scan, and you warp to the anomaly. It's very unlikely that a player is not going to manually warp back to base to avoid being tackled. I totally get that. And yes, as a solo hunter, I will admit, I do get a little bit upset about the fact that people have automatic security and the ability to automatically warp back and be completely safe. That does make me a little upset. However, that's not what I'm referring to. I'm not talking about the players who are out there PvEing and ratting and trying to make ISK to progress in the game and have fun at their 1 or 2 hours of playtime that they get. That's not what I'm referring to whatsoever. What I'm complaining about and what I'm absolutely infuriatingly frustrated with at this point in the game is the fact that there is a huge botting issue in our community. And there are some groups that are going to point to one specific alliance, AOA, and say that they are the only ones that are doing it. They're the ones that are completely ruining the game for everyone else. And I'm here to tell you, every single alliance does this or has somebody who's participating in this activity. For example, I just want to go over the regions and void space that I went to on Saturday. You're probably wondering what those clips were earlier in this video while I was talking about this problem. Well, that is every single system in a row over in Innsmother that I found where a ship warped away as soon as I entered local. Actually, that's not even all of them. I just can't zoom out farther on this map for you to still be able to see the system names. Now, there is no way that this is normal human behavior. Most people are going to dock up when they see a neutral or an enemy coming from 2 or 3 jumps away. Cameras are in place, you get an early warning, people can communicate through Alliance chat, people are going to dock up and not wait for you to enter the system before they warp off. So, what did I do about this? Well, I hopped into my trusty Celestis Interdictor, a cheap 47 IP ship, and I headed out there to Innsmother the very next day around the same time to try and find those targets. Now, this is a pretty long trip from Cheetah, and I did get hit with a couple of gate camps on my way from Lowsec out here into the wildlands. When we started getting a little bit more close to Innsmother, I did see some names start to pop up as I'm warping from gate to gate. So I decided to stop on this one, watch the local list, and see if we can catch something coming through. So the name right there on the bottom of the local list just popped up. We're going to wait and see if anybody comes through. If we see that blue streak of light, we know that there's some, yep, right there. We know somebody's going to be warping through this gate. So we'll turn on our warp bubble to stop anybody from immediately warping away. And we've got 2 ships here. Now, my first instinct is to go for the Astero, who's going to be a smaller, easier to kill target, but unfortunately he's going to cloak up. So we're going to jump on this APOC Navy and see if he's AFK or going to be heading towards the gate. I'm running with a scrambler and a web to completely stop anybody from getting back to the gate if I can jump on them quickly, especially a battleship like this. The only problem is that we are going to be within web range for this ship if he's carrying any webs as well, so it is a little bit risky, and they are going to be able to pull away if he's got like double or triple webs on us. However, as this fight progresses and more names come and go with interceptors, it becomes apparent that this is a completely AFK autopilot APOC Navy coming through this gate, and I have hit a major score. So I'm going to fast forward through this fight because it's pretty much just me sitting on this gate until he dies, and I'm only rocking about 1100 max DPS with this little interdiction ship. For those of you wondering why I have a cloaking device in the low slots of an Interdictor ship, that's because if you activate that cloaking device out of combat, it's going to cloak you and deactivate your warp bubble faster than if you waited for an entire cycle. Now the reason I have that is twofold. One, for avoiding capital ships that come through the gate so that I don't have to wait for my bubble to turn off. And two, for waiting out combat timers if I'm going to miss my target on those botting catches near the Citadel. But looks like we've almost finished off this APOC Navy, so let's go ahead and get a nice clean shot of the explosion. Very nice. Zoom around here. Beautiful. Love it. Another huge score for our little 47 IP Celestis Interdictor. This is a great ship, along with like an arbitrator interdictor, if you don't want to use something super expensive, but you still want to go out there and run some mobile gate camps. So let's go ahead and take out this pod here, just so he has no idea what happened to him. And then we'll pick up the loot, see if he had anything on him, or if he was running an empty hull while autopiloting. Very nice. He was carrying a fully fit ship on autopilot through nullsec, so we picked up a good score on that one. We got that siege module. That'll be some bonus loot ISK there. We can deposit it in the NPC station in this system, and then we will check out the killmail and see what we ended up with. Very nice at the top of the list there. 9.5 billion APOC Navy issue, fully fit and fully AFK on autopilot. And judging by the fit here with the group capacitors in the mid slots, I would say this is probably a ship heading towards a CTA or a staging point. Unfortunately, it's going to be down for 12 hours. Okay, we have made it up to In's Mother, into the heart of the 10 systems that I highlighted earlier in the video, and we have logged out on a Citadel. Now I'm expecting this ship to warp back to the Citadel because that's how I caught the APOC Navy from the last video where I did this. At least that's how most of them seem to be doing it. So once I scanned down the system, I saw the target at one of the anomalies. I warped to the anomaly at 0 because I knew he was going to warp away. And then I warped to the Citadel from the overview at 100 kilometers away from the Citadel. So what these things will do is they will dock up for at least 10 minutes when an enemy enters the local system. After that 10 minutes is up, it'll do an automatic check to see if the local is clear. If it is, they'll head back out and start routing those anomalies and repeat the process. If it's not clear, they won't undock, so you do have to completely log your ship out of the game in order for them to reappear. Unfortunately, this ship has wised up, and it looks like he's docking over there at that personal outpost instead of the Citadel, so we're going to have to change our location and try and catch him on that personal outpost. And honestly, this is a little bit more tricky because you can't see the personal outpost from the overview. And even if you scan it down, it's just going to say Capsuleer Outpost. It's not going to tell you what the name of that outpost is. So you don't really know which one you're going to be going to. Luckily for me, this one's close to the Citadel. I saw he was over there docking up, so I know it's going to be this one specifically, but I'm not going to be able to get in line with the anomaly he was coming from because I don't know where he was coming from. The best way I've found to solve this is to just log out on that POS, wait the 10 minutes, and when you come back, go ahead and flick up your bubble and zoom out to see which anomaly he's going to be coming from. Because you have to be in a direct line of his warp path with your bubble up before he begins his warp. And if you're not in a direct line, it'll go right past you and dock up. Alright, we've been logged out for 10 minutes, so this should be enough time for him to undock and head back out to the anomalies. We're going to use our fast warp speed to get back to that spot that we logged out, and as soon as we land, as soon as we can, we're going to put up our bubble and see if we can catch him coming from one of those anomalies. Now, I'm not sure which one he's coming from, so I'm going to zoom out here and I'm going to get a good look at which anomaly he seems to be warping from. Odds are we're not going to catch him on this first attempt because it's going to be really hard to get a good straight line and figure out which anomaly he's coming from. We'll open up the scanner just to make sure that he was ratting. We should get a result of no ship is located. Yep, there it is. So we know he was ratting, and there he is coming in on the overview. Looks like he came in from the top anomaly there, which means we are going to be a little bit off, and he's going to get through our bubble because we're not directly centered. Now, I'm not sure if we didn't get our bubble up in time or if we weren't completely centered, but we can get a better angle on this now that we know which anomaly he's coming from. All right, now that we've repositioned ourselves a little bit, it's time to log in and see if we've gotten into a straight line path with that anomaly. It's going to be kind of difficult, and I did do a lot of manual piloting, but you'll notice that the same thing happens. As soon as I log in, as soon as I enter that local list, we'll throw up our bubble, we'll zoom out, and we'll see him warping back to that pause. Now, this is not typical human behavior. This is not something that a normal person would do, where they're going to undock and redock and undock and redock every time somebody enters local. This is not what people do, especially not with the speed at which this ship is doing it.
I am telling you right now, that motherfucker back there is not real.
Also, unfortunately for me, I'm gonna miss my target a little bit, and we were a little bit off. So we're gonna have to readjust and try this again. The good thing is that this guy keeps doing it over and over and over again. So eventually we will catch him. So the next thing I did was move a little bit closer to the pause. This will give me a better angle and more area to cover to try and stop him before he reaches that spot. However, the downside is he might be close enough to dock up if we don't get our scrambler and web on top of him to stop his progress. Now, when you put a bubble up next to a station, they're still going to be able to dock up if they're inside that bubble. However, if we have more points of warp disruption than he has stability, then he won't. That's another reason why I'm using a scrambler instead of double webs. So hopefully he doesn't have 4 or more points of warp stability. Then it doesn't matter how close he is to the base, he's not going to be able to dock up regardless. But for now, it looks like moving closer has helped us. We've been able to stop his progress from getting to the base, and we're going to go ahead and turn on all of our offense and see if we can burst him down. Another thing that I want to note, you can tell this is a bot. This is a 100% bot, and you want to know why? He's not firing back. He's not calling for help. He's not turning on any defensive mods or propulsion mods whatsoever. He's just sitting there, very similar to the last APOC Navy I killed and did the whole song and dance. And honestly, it sickens me. It absolutely sickens me that this is going on. All this does to me is confirm that every single ship that I'm scanning down and that's warping away before I'm able to get to it in the anomaly is a bot. That's the only thing that it confirms to me. And the fact that it's every single system in a row up here in Innsmother, in Void Territory, every single system in a row for at least 10 systems means that these are all bots, and this is an entire bot farm that is being run. Now, when I used to do this, you would mostly see APOC navies and APOC strikers. That's because they're just best at being able to kill things from 100 kilometers away and warp back to the Citadel in time. You can fit them glass cannon and not have to worry too much. However, I've been noticing a shift. Now these bots are becoming Raven Navy issues, and that's because you can incredibly passive tank these ships. So my 1100 DPS on this Celestis Interdictor is just barely enough to beat the passive tank of this Raven Navy issue. It is going to take me forever to kill this ship, which also means that it's going to give everybody in local that may be awake or may not be awake, likely they're all AFK because I've been doing this for about an hour now and no one's been responding, but it's going to give them time to come back to the computer, check on their little bot farm, see who's being attacked, see who's not doing the anomalies in time, who's not making their ISK quotas. They're going to be able to check. And unfortunately, I need a little bit more DPS on this ship in order to take this thing out. So for everybody who's trying to catch these ships, this is just something to be aware of. You are going to need a little bit more DPS to take on Raven Navy issues if you happen to find them being botted rather than APOC Navy issues. I just think that they have a better passive tank overall. These things are not running resist mods. They're not turning them on, so you don't have to worry about bursting through their resist. It's all about the passive tank and their ability to warp away from the anomaly super fast. So we increase our inertia, we increase our warp speed with hyperspatial rigs, and we get to the target and put up our bubble as soon as possible to catch them. Then all you need to do is fit pretty much completely glass cannon and take these things out over time. Let's fast forward this a little bit so that you don't have to sit through the entire time of me trying to wear this down, because unfortunately I am going to make a mistake. So here I've gotten to the point where I'm starting to worry about my capacitor. I've turned off my web just because I don't think I need to slow the target down very much. He's just slow boating it to the base anyway, and I just have my scrambler on to try and prevent him from docking. He is getting really close though, so we might lose him as he approaches the base. And there he goes, yeah. absolutely heartbreaking to lose that ship, but that's what happens when you pull him too close to that base. He just drifted right into that POS and was able to dock up. Obviously has more than 4 points of stability, so we weren't able to hold him as well. So I could continue to try this again. I guess we'll go ahead and log out and give it one more shot. But we run the risk, the longer we do this, of the rest of the bot army waking up or the owner of the bot army waking up. So we'll log out one more time and get a little bit farther away from the POS and head towards the anomaly here that we think he's coming from, put up our bubble, and see if we can catch him again. Unfortunately, I ran out of space on my phone and I wasn't able to continue recording, but on my next trip back out, I had my bubble up and I was killed by a hell close to the station that I was trying to stop that Raven Navy issue at. But what does this tell me? Well, it tells me that that guy is probably the owner of this bot army, or at least that Raven Navy issue that wasn't making its quota. Because I wasn't scanned down, it just happened all of a sudden, a hell appeared next to me and took me out before I could react. And I'm pretty sure it wasn't the Raven Navy issue bot that called for help. So in summary, I just want to say this is an issue. This is something that we can't ignore anymore. We've been putting our head in the sand for too long. We've been throwing names out, pointing fingers at different alliances, and not really addressing the root problem. This is an issue for every player who wants to play Eve Echoes and have a good community, a good game, a good solid base to continue on for the future. And you might think, hey, this doesn't affect me at all. That's that other guy over there that's making all this money and he's just ratting those NPCs, so it doesn't really affect me. It's not like he's using any of that money to destroy me. Well, the next time 50 supers drop on your alliance and take out your entire SOV, I want you to think about that. Think about how they earn those supers. Think about how anybody earns those supers. How do you think the guy that killed me in that Celestis Interdictor killmail got that super? It's probably because he's running 12 Raven Navy issues, farming around the clock, PvE, ratting, and just generating a shit ton of ISK. And honestly, frankly, I don't like cursing, I don't like getting angry, but I'm pissed off. I have fully reached my breaking point with this issue. I have seen this going on in Void, I have seen this going on in NEEC, in AOA, in SHH, I've seen it going on in Meow, I've seen it going on in TSC. And honestly, I'm just freaking tired of it. Now, some people might not even realize this, but Eve Echoes has two different servers. There's a separate server for Chinese-based players, and they have completely blue donated the whole thing to where everybody is just grinding out PvE farming constantly. Well, what's the point of that? Do we want our server to turn into that same thing? Bots just running constant PvE farms, generating ISK, making massive amounts of ships for what? What's the point? There's only two reasons that a player or a group of players would ever own a bot farm. One, so that they can take that ISK and turn it into real world money through real money trading by selling it online to shady ass websites. Or two, to buy supers and massive amounts of carriers and other capital ships to completely dominate another alliance's SOV. Both reasons, both things are going to contribute to the downfall of Eve Echoes and to our community if we don't take action now. And honestly, it's actually really easy to find these things going on in your own alliance. Create a new character, make an alt, make it gray, have it fly through your space, and see who instantly docks up as soon as you land into that area. Now, I don't know who the current leader of Void is, but I just gave you a great example of something that's going on in your backyard that you need to be aware of. So if you need to contact me on Discord. You have my name. As for the Raven Navy issue that I caught warping back to the Citadel and undocking every 10 minutes multiple times, I did go ahead and report that name to NetEase, but there's no way for me to know if they're going to contact me back and follow up on that. But I will continue to do that, and I urge everybody else to do the same thing. If you find somebody doing that type of behavior, it's obviously some kind of a scripted bot and it's hurting our game. Let's go ahead and report them to the developers and see if we can help them deal with this issue. Hopefully in the future they do something with the local list. I know they've been talking about it on the official Eve Echoes Discord about changing the delay in which people appear on the local list. That might have something that helps because these bots seem to respond when we appear on the local list. But until that takes place, I've done my best to educate people on how to fit the ship, how to find these things, and hopefully you guys can get out there and start fighting back against this behavior. The other thing that I want to do is actually put my money where my mouth is, and this issue is so important to me. I'm actually going to offer a bounty for killing bots for the next 2 weeks. So all you have to do is send me a screenshot of the killmail and of the ship in space outside of a POS or citadel not fighting back. And if you can do that, I will send you 200 million ISK per killmail. The total pot for this is going to be 5 billion. So that's the max that I can actually spend on this bounty, but it's going to be over 2 weeks. So you have some time to take care of it. At the end of the 2 weeks, we'll tally it up. I'll send out all of the ISK bounties to the players who have submitted the screenshots, and I'll actually post a video highlighting who did the best, who got the most money out of this pot, and how many bots were killed, and the names of the bots that were killed as well. We'll see what alliances they come from, and who did the best job at taking out the most scripted players. You can send those screenshots to Growmeyer on Discord. For me, for my videos, for my channel's future, I'm still going to continue to do Eve Echoes content. I'm still going to go out there and try to roam, as hard as it is and difficult as it is to find people to fight nowadays. I'll still do my 1v1s, although I might start putting them in separate videos and keep these things a little bit more separated and then be able to post a little more sporadically. But unless they do something to change these local list issues, these bots being able to warp away instantly and us not really being able to be solo hunters like we want to be, I'm going to have to start exploring other avenues, other games, and try to do some other things with my channel going forward. As always, if you like this video, go ahead and drop me a like, subscribe to future content, suggest something in the comments. Maybe you want to see me play a different game. Maybe you have something else that you play on the side that you want to see me try out. I don't mind. I'm open to it at this point because I'm kind of running out of options. But until then, as always, fly safe and have fun. And don't cheat, for crying out loud. Jeez.